Yes, I'm going to introduce both of you. So we have exciting session by Francoise Muller and Solarzar Dellaporta. Francoise joined Toastmasters in 2008. Since then, she has never looked back. She took leadership roles within her club for several years before finally stepping outside the confines of her club. There, she realized there was so much more to discover and a plethora of opportunities available. She went from area director to district director in 4 years. She learned a bunch about herself every step of the way. Today, Francoise will be discussing the various skills you can hone when you become a club coach. Our next speaker is Solarzar Dellaporta. He joined Toastmasters in 1995. He served as a club officer and also the area governor of the year, district governor of the year, and the Toastmaster of the year for District 4. And also, he was a division director for District 101. He loves to learn and share what he has learned. Today, Solarzar shares what you can learn and develop as a club sponsor and a club mentor. It's all to you, Francoise and Solarzar.
Well, as you can see, I'm a little tired from all my time in Toastmasters. But as Abhijit mentioned, we'll be talking sponsor to mentor to coach, supported by our wonderful past district director, Francoise Muller. Now, what is a sponsor? A sponsor is one of the roles you need in order to complete your DTM. There's the mentor, the sponsor, and the club coach. So all of the three things we're talking about today expand your leadership avenues in Toastmasters. They're not educational programs in the sense of communication, but they are educational programs in giving you an opportunity to test your leadership. First thing you have to determine as a sponsor is what type of club is it that you want to start? Is there an interest for that type of club? Does a club like that already exist? And are you planning to do the work to attract potential members? See, a sponsor is the person that has the germ of an idea, but then they have to do the work to get the people together, to draw the membership, to attract people, and bring us to the point where the district can help do a demo meeting. So what types of clubs are there? Well, there's corporate. If you belong to a company, very often, many of the companies we work with in Silicon Valley have clubs in other areas of the country. So they're very open to supporting new clubs in a local location. Is it a community club? Will it be open to everybody? And if it's a community club, going back to our earlier discussion, we're not really geographical anymore. So many of the clubs today have members from all over the country or throughout the world. So a community club just means you're open with no restrictions to the membership. Is it an advanced club? An advanced club means we have a certain Toastmaster level or expectation. For instance, you could have a club that's just people who have been club presidents or past district directors and governors, or even, as we have in many areas, that they're a dual member of another club or a certain educational level like an old-time CC, CTM, or 2 pathways levels. What we essentially say in an advanced club is, we're not really here to teach you Toastmasters. We're here to take your Toastmasters to another level. And then we have specialty clubs. Now, the letter of the law is there's no real such thing as a specialty club, but there are clubs with specialties. For instance, right now we're building a multimedia club within the district where the members are working to incorporate multimedia in all their presentations. We have a women in product club we chartered last year. The women all work in product management or product development. So every speech or every table topic session incorporates products or their preference for products or products they like to work on or products they like. So they incorporate that. So even though it's a specialized club, they still do the Toastmasters program, but they incorporate that specialty into their presentation. We're currently working on an interpersonal communication club where it's focused not just on Toastmasters, but it's focused on interpersonal communications of how do we communicate in our relationships with each other. Priya is a part of a club, for instance, that's about career nexus, and it's about building your career specialties, expanding your careers. So when we look at a club and we say we want to add a new club to the community, we first want to say, do we want it to be part of our company, which is employees only? Do we want it to be open to the entire community? And do we want it to be an advanced club where you already have a Toastmaster base before we move forward into this club? And if you want to communicate, that's probably Arnie, because I see he's unmuted. And if you're moving into a community club, then you may want to look at what's your specialty. Like Carmel Improv that just chartered in June. They actually focus on improv training. We also have Silicon Valley Improv that does the same thing. But in both those cases, you learn your Toastmasters somewhere else, and then you come there to focus on that specialty. Now, we, as I mentioned, District 101 will support with putting together the demo meeting for the club. We actually bring the team together and we have a structure that we use in the demo meetings that's determined to do two things. One is to help introduce Toastmasters to everybody. It's a taste. It's an entree. It's not an entree, rather, it's an appetizer. And then we want to lead into how do we set up the next meeting and how do we get the officers for the club? Now, in order for us to do a demo meeting, we need to have a minimum of 30 RSVPs. Now, that's not people who say, yeah, I'd kind of like to be there, or I might be there if there's not a monster truck match up that day. No, we need 30 RSVPs because our goal is to try to get that club to charter as soon as possible. So the sponsor's role is to get those 30 RSVPs, is to get the word out, is to ensure that there's interest. And then we come together to make that demo happen. We offer guidance to the sponsors about gathering the attendees, but we don't gather the attendees for you. It's up to the sponsor. That's part of the responsibility because you're going to get credit for your DTM for that. We'll provide the new club information kit, which is a PDF of how to build a Toastmasters club. We'll help you with the forms. We'll help guide you through the completion of the forms, and we'll help with promotional information. And there are many ways you can do that. You can use your standard social media. You could use additional outreach that you use in the community, and more places are opening up to physical outreach, so you can look at that as well. One of the things we have to stress is that right now within the district, we only do demos online. We're not gathering together. Even if you want to do an in-person club, the demo will be online so that we can actually gather our team from all over without concern about any distancing or other requirements. So keep that in mind. We also offer support after the demo meeting for the next steps. Now, if the demo meeting happens and we don't get 20 applications, we're not done, and the sponsor's not done. We're going to work with you to help you move forward to gather more of those people coming forward. We'll provide guidelines on completing the charter application when we're there. And once chartered, we take you to the next step. We assign a mentor to carry the club forward. Now, let's take a look at this. The sponsor builds the frame of the house, but it's the mentor that's going to create the foundation. See, the mentor is going to be assigned for a minimum of 6 months, but in district, we ask for up to a year. They serve as a role model, they're a coach, they're a confidant. They serve as a permanent member of the executive committee, a non-voting member, but a permanent member, because their role is to guide these new officers going forward into helping their club become self-sustaining. They offer their knowledge, their insight, their perspective, and wisdom. And we interview every mentor. Now, you could come forward with an idea for a club tomorrow and boom, you'll be the sponsor for that club and we'll help guide you. But the mentors, we want to make sure that they have a foundation to help build up that club membership as well as the club officers, because they help the club become successful. Without a solid mentor, clubs can often flounder and struggle in that first year. And we've seen that happen. So we can honestly say it happens with all the best intentions. They help new members develop skills. We ask them to be almost a permanent general evaluator for the first month or so that they can let all the members know how best to conduct a meeting. They can actually work with new members on how to create their speeches, how to actually do their meeting roles. They help the officers know how to actually develop their skills more to guide and lead that club. So the mentor is really the heart of that new club when we started. And they are the primary resource for the club officers and members. We want them to be the focal point. We don't want people coming to us to ask questions. We want them going to the mentor. Why? The mentor is made a commitment for that 6 months to a year to say, I'm going to help make this club a functioning member of the District 101 and Toastmaster community. So we have sponsors that have an idea and start a club, and we have the mentors that build the foundation for that club going forward. And very often people say, that's fine for new clubs, but what do we do for clubs that actually need our help? And that leads us to our next section, which is how to become a 101% first-class club coach, presented by our current club coach chair, past district director, distinguished Toastmaster, Francoise Muller.
Thank you so much, Solarzar. That was a great start for today's presentation, like showing what the club starts with. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So how to be a first-class club coach? So unfortunately, some clubs lose their way and they need some help in recovering. The area directors are here to help, but sometimes a more regular presence is needed. So for that, the skills you develop when you are a club coach, something to not forget. We are here at Toastmasters to develop our leadership and communication skills. So as a club coach, you will develop an observational and an analytical skill in seeing how the club functions before coming up with some ideas on how to help the club rebound. You build a rapport with others. You really want to connect with the people and see how you want to approach the situation and the people themselves to offer a potential solution. Team building. When we feel good with people, this is where we are more open to new ideas. So building a rapport and team building really goes together hand in hand to really help build up that community. And develop goals. So after you foster that new idea on how to, once you've started to connect with the members and the officers of the club, you will start developing a plan and goals little by little. You will see how far you can go or how short those steps need to be, whether it's to increase membership first, or make sure that the meetings are structured properly, or to advertise the club because there is a lack of PR, for example. So how to develop those goals, when they should come in one after the other. And adapt your communication style. I've learned that when I was an area director and coaching clubs and even members individually. Not everybody respond to a specific or to your natural communication style. So you will have to figure out how is the best way for me to get the message across. It's not for the people to understand you at this point. It's for you to find a better way to get the main ideas and your goals understood by the other people. More skills, because yeah, we have more skills to come up. You would expand your leadership experience. For me, taking that leadership and communication skill, working with clubs, helped me also be more effective at work. So that's a true benefit of the membership that I pay every 6 months. You would increase proficiency as a facilitator and negotiator, also something that you can apply at work or in the community if you're a member of other groups outside of Toastmasters and work and your home, etc. And you can also apply them at home, actually. You will develop diplomacy skills that goes along with the communication style and share your expertise. We want to make sure that your experience with a great club will be transmitted to another club to become a great club. So that's really what we want to see you develop and see how the clubs will develop with you. So making the connection with the club, how do we do that? So the first step is really to let the officers and the members know that you are here to help. You're not here to dictate as a club coach. You're not here to say, we need to do that, we need to do that. It's really, it's a team effort. Team building and team effort, this is where we can be the most successful in the long term. You will help them in facilitating discussion, what should be the primary steps to take for the next few weeks, the next few months, etc. You will promote collaboration, like the club president. We often see the club president doing everything, and the different officers are just there and sitting back sometimes, and they are not given the opportunity to test the true depth of their office. So promoting collaboration and delegation is something that also plays into your arsenal of new ideas and persuasive skills. And finally, ensuring that everyone have and knows how to use the available resources. The District 101 website has great resources, but the club coach is a resource, the area director is a resource, the top 3 team, which is this year made of Abhijit, Kalpana, and Shamala, are also resources. So as a club coach, you are more familiar with those things, but potentially, and you want really to tap on this type of knowledge around. You really want to ensure that the members and the officers know the way to be more successful. And you can invite them to visit other clubs that you know are successful. It could be your own club or other clubs that you have visited in the past, who you have seen being successful. There are many clubs that are really good in all around the district. So you can invite them to attend a meeting or just to see what's the goal, the end goal for the club, and what can be done in the club little by little to reach that level. But of course, you don't want to make a carbon copy. Every club has its own atmosphere, and we really want to foster that because every club is unique, and we want to make sure that every club in their uniqueness are successful or is successful. The first thing I believe to get a club to be successful is to have quality meetings. And that means that there needs to be preparedness. You want to show that the agenda is prepared, that there is a structure, that everybody knows that what they have to do, for example. So that's something that working along in the short term might be the first thing to do with the club. The goal of a meeting is to be so good that when there is a guest coming, that guest wants to come back. And when it will be time for them to join, they will not hesitate. So it could be after the first or second or third or 20th meeting, but they really need to see that they will get something from becoming a member of that club. And finally, we also often talk about the DCP, the Distinguished Club Program, and the goals that are in there, the educational goals with the pathways level, the membership level, the goals, the administrative and training goals. So all this comes together, and it should not necessarily be the goal, but it's usually a translation of how good a club is. The club that has vibrant meetings, interesting meetings, successfully giving the members an opportunity to complete levels will show that in the DCP. And they will be attracting guests and they will be growing their membership numbers. It's not the other way around. It's not because you get members to come that the club is successful. It's really because you have a great meeting that the DCP goals are being set. So this is really something that some clubs and some members might have lost perspective with, but it's really a measure of the success. And I want to make sure that everybody understands that. And finally, something that for me personally, it took me a few years, like 2 or 3 years before I realized that there were things outside of my club, because there was not, the communication was lacking at the beginning when I joined the club. And I didn't know that there were contests. I didn't know there was something else than the COTs that I had to attend as a club officer, or the TLI and the conference had so many great educational sessions. And this is where I personally grew, and I was able to share that experience to my club members. And little by little, we said, oh yeah, there is a lot more to gain. So we actually attended all those events, more and more members of my club. And at the time we started, we were 6 members, we grew to 9 and 12 and back to 10 and 15. And finally we were at 20 after a few years of trying. But I believe it's because more and more of us attended those district events that we got new energy and new ideas every few events. So that's another tool in the pocket of a club coach to advertise. Finally, this year only, you can get dual credit for your distinguished Toastmaster credit. You can, if you are a club coach who is working with the club and gets the club to be distinguished by June, and that club has a membership of at least 20 by the end of June, then you will get 2 credits, meaning as a successful coach, but you will also get a credit for serving as a district officer, similar to an area director or the administration manager or the finance manager. So you can, just for this year, you can get those 2 credits all at once. The only caveat is that you need to be appointed before the end of December this year. So don't hesitate and contact us, and we will work with you to get you to find a club that matches your personality and to really get everybody to be successful, not only the club, but also you in your effort in being a club coach. And with that, I think it's time to get to questions.
Solarzar, there is a first question from Barbara. Do the sponsor and the mentor work together or in succession to help the club? Do the sponsor and mentor work together or in succession to help the club?
Well, actually, we try to pit them against each other, but no, that's. But actually, generally the sponsor, very often we encourage the sponsor to be the club president because it's the person that has actually started the club with the vision. So we encourage that. And we encourage, if there's more than one sponsor, that they be part of that initial officer group of the new club going forward. So yes, they too work with each other at that point, but the mentor comes into play at the point the club is chartered. So any work prior to the charter does not involve the mentor. That's the sponsor's role, and the sponsor is responsible for bringing it to that. We try to introduce the member as soon as possible, but their true responsibility starts at the moment of charter. Does that answer your question, Barbara?
Thank you.
Kate, do you have any question? Yes, Jamal, go ahead.
I have a question. So I am, this is a great presentation, just like how you need a village to raise a child, you need a community of Toastmasters to build a new club. So I'm in the process of building interpersonal Toastmasters. And currently what I'm looking for is like passionate Toastmasters to help me out, promote and help me get those 17 known Toastmasters. And work with me to run the meeting as well as just help me build this club. So I think my question is, what else can we do to promote this club, and how, because each one of us have a member or a friend out there who is not a Toastmaster. So that will greatly help in coming to this club. So just wondering how we as a community can help build new clubs.
Solarzar?
Well, actually, I think you've just done that right now, Jamal, by asking people here to potentially contact you. So why don't you put your information into the chat? But again, the key is that we encourage sponsors to bring a team of people with a like mind for their club together and collectively to do their outreach wherever possible. If they have access to social media, to use the social media. If they're doing a community club, the challenge goes back to what Jamal said. You need 20 members to charter a club. You must have 20 members, but 17 must be non-Toastmasters, which means they're not a current Toastmaster paying dues to a club of a current club. They can have been a past Toastmaster, but they can't be a paid Toastmaster right now. So when you're doing an open club or a community club, you have to reach the public. You have to reach non-Toastmasters. And that requires a team of people to come together and say, how best can we do outreach? Things that we found effective in the past have been Nextdoor, where you can have a bunch of people on a lot of geographically separate Nextdoors do outreach. What you want to avoid for a community club is you want to avoid doing too much outreach within Toastmaster circles because you end up with Toastmasters. But what you can do is get a team of Toastmasters together to help you do the outreach in different areas. So my recommendation is you find the ones that work for you. Use social media. You can start a Facebook page anytime. Abhijit talked about the use of Meetup. Of course, Meetup does cost until you're a Toastmaster club, when District 101 will support that. But if you have access to Meetup, you can start a Meetup page and use that to do outreach. You can also, as I said, because things are opening up, you can do community outreach in public places with flyers. You can put them at supermarkets, community centers, churches, etc. What you're trying to do, though, is draw people for a purpose. In your case, Jamal, it's interpersonal communication. So there's a real niche there of saying, we're going to teach people how to better communicate in their relationships with each other in all that they do. And that's a target that you can reach out to reach to people. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you so much, Solarzar. So if any of you are interested, please feel free to ping me and I'll share you more information. Thank you.
Solarzar, Doris has a question.
Yes, Doris.
Do you assign 2 mentors for new clubs?
Not always. Because of the fact that we would love to have more mentors in the district, we start by assigning 1 mentor to each club. And we only assign 2 mentors under exceptional circumstances. It doesn't have to be a bad thing necessarily. But we try to start with 1 mentor because we have new clubs and we don't have all the mentors we would like to go around. So when possible and when it's available, we will assign 2. You can have up to 2 per club. You can have up to 2 sponsors per club. But we try to start with 1 mentor so that we have enough for all the new clubs that come up.
Go ahead, Kate.
Thank you, Abhijit. I am starting a new club with the help of Priya and John, a Career Nexus Toastmasters Club, just in case you don't know about it. I have a question for you, Solarzar. Could we get the mentor now before we start the club, or do we need to start the club?
Well, the mentor has no assigned role until the club starts. So to answer your question is yes, we could certainly get a mentor assigned, but that only means that you want to enslave that mentor and put them to work and drive them.
No, actually, I was thinking they could help us and answer a few questions as we go along. That was where I was coming from.
No, I understand, but that actually is our role with you until the club charters. But we could certainly look at getting mentors. It's always helpful to get a mentor in a club in sync very early on. And the sooner we can get a mentor involved with the club, it's good. But we don't want them too heavily engaged in what the sponsor is supposed to be doing. So the answer to your question, the short answer is yes. And the long answer is, but we don't want them doing the sponsor's role.
Absolutely agree with you. Thank you.
I want to add one thing. There is this club, San Jose Toastmasters. Tomorrow they are going to a farmer's market to recruit new people. So that is another way to recruit people.
And they're only looking for organic Toastmasters, right?
Any other questions, anyone?
Arnie had a question.
Arnie, go
Hi,
ahead.
thank you. I'm Mr. Solarzar. You mentioned specialty clubs. Where in the pathways path covers specialty clubs like book club, improvisation, point of order, maybe in the other club, other district? Where do you find the specialty clubs in the pathways project?
There's no unique pathways project for specialty clubs, just to let you know. And going back to what Shamala mentioned earlier, all of those things of, team leading, team building, you could use it as your special HPL project or anything else to build a club, but there's nothing specific to a specialty club.
And another one is the clubs have only limited time for meeting. How do you explain and meet each member and emphasize your role as mentor?
In the mentor, that's one of the reasons we encourage the mentors to be the general evaluator of the meetings early on and for a period of time. We also ask that they work with the club officers to have a little extra time for that general evaluation role, because that's a learning time to all the members in attendance of how you do your meeting functions, how you do your roles. Individually, we ask the mentors to also be available to individual members about their meeting roles, about their meeting assignments, about their speaking, as well as with the officers. So the mentor has a very big role. It's very important. And once they've created the foundation, their responsibility drifts off, but they've got to create that foundation. So
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Dellaporta.
Oh, you're very welcome, Arnie. Mr. Pablo.
Any questions regarding club coaching? Club coaching is a great opportunity. It has helped me a lot being a club coach for Cisco Speaks. So any questions?
RPG,
Yes.
this is Xiaohong. In Division C, there's a special club named the Vankapatugalu.
Yes.
They need a club coach with a special language, Canada. So I think they applied for some time for the club, for a club coach. So are we able to get a club coach for the club?
I have a potential coach in mind for that club. She's currently on leave, getting married. So once she comes back, she speaks Kannada. So I had talked to her about it. I'm to see if she can be on board for that club. I'm going to talk to her.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to know.
Can I say something, Abhijit?
Sure.
And I want to actually point out that actually being a club mentor, in my opinion, is a great foundation for being a club coach. So what I mean by that is you establish a certain framework in those 6 months to a year of developing the skill set. And now when you become a club coach, you get to expand that so much further. I don't know how all of you feel about your Toastmasters time, but my time always feels most fulfilling when I've been able to help in some way, shape, or form. And boy, as a mentor, we bring the children up, and as a coach, we send them through school.
Oh, wow. I have another question for Franny.
Francoise, yeah. Go ahead.
That's what-
Sir, Franny, it's a fact that it's harder or more difficult to keep a member than to gain new members. What's your response to that?
That's a great question, Arnie. I have to think the opposite. It's easier to get a member on board than getting new members because the member is already here. The only thing to do is to keep the member engaged and let them see what they can learn being in the club. That means giving everybody the opportunity to speak at their own pace. Some people want to speak every 2 to 3 weeks. Others need more time to prepare their speeches, or they have a block, a writer's block. I sometimes have, I have no ideas of what I can speak about, even though I have the tools to figure out what I can talk about. But all of a sudden, and within a couple of days, I have ideas for 3 or 4 speeches. So I need to write them down. So I need that flexibility with my VP of Education to get to fulfill that pace. But I do keep pocket speeches, so I can always look at the speech I have and the projects that's coming up in my pathways and make sure that I will hit the educational goals in the pathways. Now, for me, it's a little bit more difficult to get a new member because you need to figure out the best way to advertise the club. If it's a corporate club, you need to be able to talk to the right people to advertise the club. It could be an executive, it could be another manager level to be allowed to advertise the club. It could be to HR, it could be part of the welcome packets, for example. But until you have found that person to talk to, it might be difficult to advertise the club, especially now that you don't see people in the hallway. For a community club, same thing. When it's in person, you can put flyers in different places. Online, you use Meetup or Nextdoor or some other platform to advertise the club. And we should continue doing that even when we start meeting in person again. But it takes more effort to get a new member than keeping a member. You need to keep those quality and fun meetings to get the members. So that's a little bit easier.
Thank you, Franny. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We have 4 minutes until the room closes.
I'd like to go to the mentor task. We keep saying that it's 6 to 12 months. I had just come out of a mentoring project, and 12 months is not too much. In 6 months, you don't necessarily have the time to go over the elections because often the club doesn't have even the time to figure out if there will be another set of officers. So we just roll along there. Is everybody okay with to keep the same officers? Everybody votes and we keep going. But there is no election per se. The contest, the official contest happens only once a year. So there are a lot of things that happen only once. So if you want to be a mentor, I strongly encourage you to stay the full 12 months rather than stopping at 6 and letting the club go. This is when we need a club coach 3 months later.
And thank you, Francoise, for calling that out. I want to add another note to it. The more effort we put into mentoring, the less need of a coach comes down eventually, because the basics are so strong, the club is in auto run mode. So again, it's about precautionary annual health checkup versus going for physical therapy after the fact. So I think we all know how important it is, the annual checkups are. So let's make sure that our mentoring program is done so effectively that Francoise or the future club coach chair will not have any work.
Thank you, Shamla. Any other questions? 2 minutes to go before the room closes. I really want to thank both Solarzar and Francoise. Thank you for helping us out. Your presentations were very helpful, informative. I really appreciate that. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, Mr.
Appreciate
Joshi. Thank you, sir.
Great to see everyone and great questions today. Thank you for their participation. And yeah, don't hesitate to contact us. You can find our addresses online on the district website. If it's not us appointed that year, that email listed on the page will go to the right person.
I did post them into the chat.
Perfect.
It displays well.
Thank you all.
Enjoy the break and see you when we come back at 11:35.
Yes.
I like your costume, Solarzar. That's awesome. And even the slides, they just matched perfect.
No,
Even
no,
you were Francoise.
actually, I just didn't put on makeup today.
Oh, you're
They
still
should
in
have seen the
pajamas?
blood.
Are these your pajamas?
And this is me.
My gosh.
I guess we can stop the recording. We learned too much from Solarzar.
Jamal, I like your pumpkins on your cheeks.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're
thank you,
adorable.
Barbara. Thank you. And I have a leaf
And the
coming
leaf,
out
yeah.
of my head. Oh, evergreen.
Thanks to the leaders of this discussion group. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Barbara. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Francoise and Solarzar. Great presentation. See
Thank
you on
you.
the other side. Yep,
See
bye.
you. Thank you, Abhijit. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.